And I remember walking in there the first day at Calgary, and Bob Tolman's like, how was your fourth? How much did you win? And I was like, I really don't know. And I looked it up at like 34,000 in the last 3 days. You know, it's such a special time, but it is, you just kind of, you get it absorbed in it. And that's the funnest part, I think.
Rodeo time.
Welcome to the Luke Branquinho Show. My next guest is a familiar face to the show and to the rodeo world because, well, it just is. He's the higher boot man, Mr. Richmond Champion. Richie, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Luke.
How I want to ask you how this year has been so far going into the summer.
It's been, I don't know. It's like, I always think like break it up into winter, spring, and then kind of assess. And as far as like when I got done with the winter, I was relatively happy. You know, I won some money, placed it, you know, some of the bigger rodeos, I guess, advanced through them and got done. I was like, okay, I usually have about 25,000 won at this point in the season. What I should do is remember that right now, guys usually end the winter run with 50,000 because there's so much. It's not 2016 anymore. So
no,
but no, really, I'm happy with it. Like you're always going to have those guys, especially in the rough stock, that you get them and you get those big wins. And then in the spring, there's only so many rodeos and everyone's entering them. There's only those, you know, select horses that you're going to win. And you either have them or you don't. So you just kind of do what you can. You make the most of all your opportunities, and you really just wait on right now. And this is where it starts for us.
Well, and last year it seemed like right now was the last 2 months of the season for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't know how much you won the last 2 months of the season, but it was a shit ton.
Yeah. I think I won like 50-some thousand in 3.5 weeks or something last summer. So, and I needed to, and that was because the plan was to be qualified by the time Forrest arrived.
Right.
And I didn't want to, if I went rodeo, it was because I wanted to, not because I had to at that point in time. So with looking at this summer and being kind of in the exact same position I was last year when I started the summer, and not knowing Paige isn't going to have a baby this year, makes it a little easier to look at, you know, all the way through all these rodeos. And I'm excited. I feel really healthy and excited for it. So I'm going to go hard. So
what does the summer look like? I mean, obviously Reno's probably going to be the next big one coming up. And then, you know, the 4th of July run, and do you have how you're up at those yet? You obviously don't have your stock draw yet, but how you're able to work them all?
Yeah, we have positions through Calgary, or I guess Colorado Springs even, and just entered Cheyenne today, which is crazy. But we're, I'm going to pop around. We have like the Fallon Extreme Barebacks next week, Vernal this week, couple, you know, rodeos close to home, and then Reno the 24th, 25th, and then up to Pinoca, and that'll kind of start the whole thing off. And we're entered in. There's just so much money and so many big rodeos that I don't think there's a way to hit them all, and I don't think there's a way to duck off either. You know, it's going to be.
You got to make them work somehow.
Yeah, no, and we're, of course, like there's days we're entered in 3 rodeos. You know, I was talking to another buddy. He got put up in 7 rodeos over 3 days. Like,
oh man!
And not the way he wanted it, you know, but that's just the time of year. So, I'm glad we can work almost every rodeo we're entered in.
There was one year that we went, and I can't remember, 2011, which was a long time ago, Richie.
Yeah, anyway. I had just graduated high school.
Anyways, we went to. Over the 4th of July run, we went to 12 rodeos in 5 days. And we had an airplane. Only way we could work it had 3 rigs going around. But I mean, we went Cody, St. Paul, Prescott, Window Rock, Pinoca, Williams Lake, Airdrie, Livingston Red Lodge. I know I'm missing a couple other ones, but it was, did I say St. Paul? St. Paul, Eugene. But that time of year, I always loved it because you were going and blowing so hard, so fast that you didn't have time to think of, okay, I need to win this to get up to this spot. You're just going so hard. And then once the dust settles, then you're like, whew, that was nice. And hopefully you have a pile of money won, but it could be such a crazy time. And I don't think people really even understand it.
Yeah, I feel like you just dive straight into the process whenever that starts, because there's no sense in, like, once you've got the logistics lined up of, I can't even imagine having horses and trucks and trailers trying to do this thing. I'm more like, well, who am I going to catch a ride with from here to here? But once all that's planned out and you've got your horses and you know you're going, there's nothing left to do but to go do it. And same thing, my busiest year, I think we only rodeoed over the fourth 3 days, and we had a plane. It's like work the short round of Ponoka, fly in, hit Red Lodge and Cody the next day, wake up and ride in Belle Fourche, Oakley City, and West Jordan that day, and then fly to St. Paul and then land directly back in Calgary to start our set. And I remember walking in there the first day at Calgary, and Bob Tallman's like, how was your fourth? How much did you win? And I was like, I really don't know. And I looked it up at like 34,000 in the last 3 days. You know, it's such a special time, but it is, you just you get absorbed in it. And that's the funnest part, I think.
Well, here on the Luke Branquinho Show, we do a segment called Rodeo Trivia. What is the rider that rides on the other side of the steer wrist?
Well, I think, like you said, you lose. It's not that you even lose sight of it, but you're just rodeoing. You're not concerned about what you're winning and all that. You're out there having fun and obviously want to do good. But I think people can get caught up in thinking about needing to win too much. I did see a post where you were up in Canada and you mentioned flying around. Scott Pym, was he one that was flying you around that year too?
Yeah. Scott's flown us, I guess, pretty much ever since we started using small planes to get around. He's been our guy.
He flew us from the short round at Ponoka, and I, again, can't remember what year it was, but it was pretty much all Bulldoggers. I think it was myself, Cole Edge, might have been Tanner Milan. But this old plane, like when we stepped in it, it tipped the wrong way, and I was like, let me get up here in the front. So I got to ride co-pilot with Scott, and we're getting ready to go over the Canadian Rockies. And I'm not thinking nothing of it, but I think he hands us like a bag or something, an oxygen bag. I'm like, well, what do we need this for? Just so we can go over these mountains. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Man, he's a great pilot. It was such a fun trip. We had to stop in, I think it was Spokane to clear customs and get to St. Paul. But man, it's cool to have guys like that know the rodeo business, have rodeoed, and are able to get you around.
Yeah, my best Scott story is flying from St. Paul. We worked the afternoon perf on the 4th and flew and worked Livingston that night. And we land in Livingston. We're taping up, or he runs and gets like the little courtesy car, rips it out to the airplane. We throw our gear in, we're taping up. He rips us into the rodeo. And then the next thing I know, he's in the arena pulling my rigging with me. And then I get done and he goes, "You want to see the video?" Like, you are full service.
That's multitasking. Oh man. Yeah. Traveling around and he knows his stuff. He knows where to go, knows how to get you there, which, you know, with the time events, we had a pilot every so often, but we had a lot of drivers, guys that had helped us get rigs and everywhere. And like you said, the logistics of getting horses and trailers, trucks, people, and then landing, getting picked up at the airport. It's just, there's so much that goes into it. And it's not only that time of year, but I also really enjoyed the Salinas, Spanish Fork, Nampa, that time of year too, because it was like 2 weeks after the 4th of July and kind of had a little lull there. And then it's right back to it.
Yeah. I don't know. They always say like Cowboy Christmas is obviously very, very busy, but I feel like you might even be more busy from once Nampa starts till the end of, really till like Ellensburg, it doesn't stop. So I don't know. And I'm getting excited just talking about it.
Well, that's how it should be. What, when will you get stock draw for these 4th of July rodeos?
I would imagine probably starting the end of next week, beginning of the week after. It's 3 to 5 days ahead of time.
I gotcha.
And then just depending, like Reno, I think we'll get here pretty quick because we're right in that middle set. I can't remember if they draw it all or if they draw it by set. So
in Extreme Bronx, you know what you got there? Did they draw them when you're
Friday.
there? I gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's in Fallon, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think, well, I know my college roommate, Jesse Segura, puts that one on, and
it's a great event.
Make sure when you see him, you give him a tap for me.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Okay, let's talk Forest, baby, mama. Everybody doing good, excited. I love watching the social media clips of your family on the rodeo road. I didn't get to experience that with mine near as well at all. But, man, you guys look like you're having a ball out there.
Yeah, it's fun. The motorhome has been an awesome decision as far as just, I mean, I think we've gone 7,000 miles in the last 3 weeks or something.
Wow.
And just all that time that you wouldn't get, even if it's Paige is in the back feeding Forrest or whatever going down the road, or he's napping and she's working on her stuff on the computer, still like the end of the night, like we're sitting down and having dinner somewhere, or waking up and having coffee, and those are the things you don't get
right
most of the season. So it's been fun, and just finding new places at camp and getting to get done riding and have Forrest there. It's been a cool thing, and obviously there's gonna be times where that's just not feasible, like the times we just talked about coming up. But I'll also just excited, like once their fourth run's done, then they get back in at Calgary, and then that Utah run we'll get to go together. That one's pretty simple, and traveling with Caleb Bennett, he's got his truck and camper, so if we need to go fast, I can always get in and go in that, and if we want to go in comfort, then we can take the big bus.
Does Paige do any driving in the big bus?
She does, yeah, a little bit. I usually don't want to be back there being Forrest Jungle Gym. I just want to keep knocking miles down. So, but every once in a while, she's like, "I need a break." Okay,
get up here and take the donut then.
Yeah.
What is it like? I mean, your age now to where you were obviously 10 years ago. Where is your career headed? I mean, how many more years do you think you could be competitive? I mean, looking at these young kids coming up are freaking studs.
Dude, I know. I get it.
And I don't even want to bring it up and make you feel like you're old, but you in your field, you're the old man. You and Caleb.
Definitely one of the old men. I think 3 to 5 is but honestly, as long as I guess to the point that I don't want to keep working to keep up and beat these guys, because they are that good. And, you take the draw out of it and everything, like these kids can ride anything. And it's just the most competitive bareback riding's ever been. Right. But it's also really fun to put yourself up against that after doing it this long too. But I don't feel like I'm anywhere near. I definitely say I'm on the back side of the career, but I don't feel like I'm like hanging on by a thread here. Like I feel like I'm still better. And as long as I feel that way, I'm going to keep nodding my head.
Yeah, as long as that body keeps holding up for you. And I mean, obviously anybody that knows rodeo, that's probably the most grueling event on your body. But and I talk about it, maybe these fans that watch the show get mad because I say it so much, but it's gone to just an event to an athlete frame of mind. Like you're in the gym every day, you're working out, you're staying strong, and not just in the bareback riding, but in every event. I had Coleman Proctor on, he's doing rope climbs, trying to keep strong, so to see people doing that in every event just goes to show you how the sport of rodeo has grown and advanced into an actual sport in the sports frame of mind.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I started, it was still the drinking beer, partying, I'll stretch the first jump kind of deal.
Right.
Now it's if you're not in the gym, if you're not working on yourself physically, like there's always a window in time for youth that it doesn't necessarily matter if they sleep or if they work out or whatever, but if they want to do this long term, that point's going to come where they're going to have to start putting in the work. And a lot of these kids already, that's just their mindset. They were wrestlers. They played sports. They made the gym a priority. It's not new to them. So they're already coming in as athletes. And whereas for some of us, it was a shift into that. Yeah. But I feel like there's no telling, like we've always said, longevity in events, that was all based off of people that didn't train for these events. Right. And now you have nothing but people that are training and working out and focusing on their event specifically, that there's no telling what longevity could look like, as long as, providing none of the variable things happen. If it's just body and taking care of yourself, like who knows? And there's so much money in the game right now. Like what a better time to just really make it competitive. I know in the bareback riding, like trying to find an edge over somebody, like doing something that somebody else isn't doing. Good luck. Like these guys are just getting creative, doing whatever between their ears makes them feel like they're doing the best thing. And that's really all that matters. But there's cold tubs in the parking lots and stopping off at saunas and cryotherapy, and it's a crazy time.
That's no joke. Well, but you think about the tools you guys have to use now that maybe you didn't have. I mean, some of these bucking machines are as realistic as you can get, and you can crank them up. And I mean, before, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't a bucking machine. You had to go get on an actual horse, which everybody knows there's so many variables of chances of getting injured when you're on an actual horse. A bucking machine, you can control it, but still work on specific things that you think you need to do to hone it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Practice horses are great. But at a certain point you're running the same risk for no pay. So if you can find a way to emulate that kind of practice with a bucking machine, which I finally broke down and bought one 3 years ago, and it's an awesome tool. I don't ride it as much, obviously, now that I can go get on, that I'm rodeoing every day, but wintertime, or if I'm testing out new equipment, I don't have to spend $150 on an entry fee to make sure that my hand's going to stay in my rig, and I can go in the garage, and if I hit concrete, then I know I need to fix it. So,
well, not only that, but I remember last year when that horse smashed you at the Governor's Cup, you bruised your sternum, right? Yeah. You wanted to know that you were ready. So instead of having to go get on a horse that could potentially mash the hell out of you in the bucking chute again, you were able to go get on that bucking machine and say, okay, it feels good, or maybe I need to let it sit for a couple more days.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to Kate Saunier today. He's coming back from a broken thumb. He's like, yeah, I kind of want to go to Fallon, but we'll see what I draw. And he's like, I'm going to go get on a bucking machine tomorrow. And I was like, well, you're going to know if that thing's ready or not before you ever get off that. So there's just great tools. And the other thing too, is everything's on video. So you can just watch any horse, any guy you like, you can watch, at your will as much as you want. So it's a really great, environment for especially like these younger guys coming up, because they just get to see it all.
Well, and I think that's why we've seen the sport evolve as much as it has, not just the bareback riding, but the sport of rodeo. You have more tools, you have more opportunity to better yourself without having to go out and risk getting hurt, And I mean, some people might think, well, that's not the cowboy way. That's not old school. Well, no, it's not old school, but you're also preserving your body a little bit more so you'll last a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, I'm still a bit like we were at Paige's parents, and I went and got on one of her dad's horses just for practice. I was teaching a school, and part of that is like, I like to remind myself that I just love to ride bareback horses. Right. But for the most part, there's nothing wrong with being smart. Like rodeo's hard on its own. It takes care of that toughness side. That's going to do that by itself. Like, why are we making it harder than it needs to be? If you can make good decisions and last longer, except there's only getting to be more money in it. And there's just better and better horses and more competition. It's a fun time to be doing it.
It is a fun time. It's a fun time for me to watch it too. And like I said, I've got to watch from 2000 on, that era to now. And we talked about the young guys last year at the finals. There was about 4 guys that didn't make it, that I don't even know if they were 21 yet or right around young 20s. And behind them, there's another 10 of them, you know, and for me as a fan, and not that I didn't watch the bareback riding or the rough stock, and you talk bronc riding and bull riding just as much. But as a fan, I think it's really cool to see these young kids coming up and making the sport better. And I mean, we see that with the WCRA. We see them coming up through it. We've seen it with, obviously you didn't get to be a part of the Kid Rock and Rodeo, seen that, you know, how Rodeo has gone and getting better in that aspect, you know, with the American, you know, more opportunity to put money in your pocket.
Absolutely. That's back, it was 2014 and you had the American. That was the first standalone thing to come up. And now there's new bareback ridings and rough stocks and different rodeos that are getting made up, and people wanting to grow the sport, and social media is booming with it. Like, that's the thing with these kids too, is like they have followings from like just from the beginning of their career. You know, people can watch them and kind of get an idea who they are and make fans of them before they've ever really been out rodeoing that much. You know, like you kind of get an idea of these. Like, I see high school kids coming up now. I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm gonna be done when he shows up.
That's the truth. Yeah. Man, that is the truth. And in a way, I'm a little jealous that I'm retired, not in my prime, because the money these guys are getting to run at, you know, golly, that's, you know, of course, us old guys, Fred Whitfield, Cody Ole, and, you know, even Joe Beaver, sitting there and talking about, man, just think if we were in our prime right now. Well, we're not, but still be jealous about it.
Yeah, for sure,
man. Well, Richie, I appreciate you coming on. I always love having you. I love your wife even more, but she was busy.
Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Today.
Best of luck this summer. We'll keep an eye out and watch you hopefully win a pile of money and get in that winner's circle.
Sounds good. Thanks, Luke.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too. See you.
Well, here on the Luke Branquinho Show, we do a segment called Rodeo Trivia. What is the rider that rides on the other side of the steer wrestler? That person is known as the hazer. He keeps the steer running between the steer wrestling horse and the haze horse so the steer wrestler can get off and slide alongside of him and get his feet on the ground. Hey, you want to see more in-depth details on the Luke Branquinho Show? Make sure you like and subscribe.